Good morning. Good morning, teachers. Hope you are doing fine, that you have a wonderful morning. So as you know, this is our last webinar from the Diplomado, so it's really a pleasure to have you, all of you here, so you can enjoy this morning with us. And today's topic is a meaningful one, and I think that you are going to learn from our guest speaker, a great friend and colleague, Carolina Rodriguez Buitrago. So today's webinar, it's about planning classes for everyone in a hybrid environments. Since now we are dealing with the fact that we are in the classroom, but also we have students at home. So we need to start making decisions towards the perfect class and the perfect plan based on these needs and, of course, these modalities. So I would like to start asking you, teachers, to start mentioning the institution that you are representing today. For example, teacher Liliana, welcome. You're representing Jose Marti. Good morning, Juan Carlos, Sandra, Aurea, Diana, Laura, Carolina, Oriana. It's nice to have you here. Good morning, Edna, Mercedes, Sibel, teacher Sibel, good morning. Jasmine Rodriguez from Nueva Esperanza. Marlene from Romero Prada High School. So it's a pleasure to have you all here. So as I mentioned before, it's a challenge that we teachers are facing. And we have these hybrid environments in which some students are at home and others are in the classroom with us. So with this new reality and this new environment, students' needs are different than in online or face-to-face scenarios. So today, with our guest speakers, teachers, you are going to know how to plan and based on this reality and on these needs, right? So today with us, we are going to have Carolina Rodriguez Buitrago. She is a full-time professor at Institución Universitaria Colombo-Americana Única. She has worked as a teacher for almost 20 years and has held different positions in the academic field. She is recognized for her work in flipped learning with Flipped Learning Global Initiative, as well as one of the 150 leaders at the international level to implement flipped learning in higher education. She has also revised the international standards for flipped learning and led the Flip Tech Latam in 2019 here in Bogota. And she is currently a member of the board of the Flipped Learning Network. So, Carolina, good morning.
Good morning, Juliana. Good morning, teachers. Thank you very much for having me here once again for these webinars with Secretaría de Educación. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. So the floor is yours. So thank you so much for your time. I think that we are going to learn a lot from you. Thank you so much.
Well, hopefully, I hope the same. Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to ask you to bear with me because I'm just getting out of a bit of a bad cold, and I have that terrible cough, going on. Not COVID, don't worry. It's I got my negative certificate, but definitely the cough is really annoying. So I'm gonna ask you to please bear with me. Well, I want to take a stab at making some suggestions in the planning of some classes in the hybrid environments. Of course, for us, it's really easy to suggest many things when we don't have the situations that you have in your context. So I'm going to try to be as sensitive as possible about the situation that you are living in particularly. And well, the idea is that today we share, we learn together, because definitely we learn a lot from you in these webinars. And so, well, I definitely love this space because it's wonderful to connect with teachers who are in the real scenarios in our country. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's great to see some familiar faces there on the chat. Good morning, Sebas. Okay. So, something to remember, I would love to see you active in the sessions. So the comments I have here, the comments on YouTube. So please write as much as you want. We will be reading your comments, showcasing your comments. If you have questions, ask them. I mean, the idea is to have a conversation, to engage in a discussion, because as I said before, it's really easy for us teachers in higher education to propose things from the desks, but it's better when we contextualize it with your reality and when you tell us what's happening in the classrooms and what are the limitations that you have. Definitely, we have learned a lot from listening to you, from understanding what is happening, and that also promotes our creativity in planning. So please, please, please write down those comments. Good morning, Clarita. I love to see the familiar names, and also the ones that I don't know, one day I'll know you. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today, long story short, we're going to have a contextualization exercise first, and then we're going to have three main techniques, okay? So we're going to focus on cell checkpoints, on in-class flips, and on choice boards. So the idea that I have for this webinar, after watching the Anitas from last week, is that you also walk with a series of tools to put in your teaching toolbox to use on Monday, to use right now in class. Not, yes, we tend to provide some theory because we like the theory, but it's not going to be focused only on that. It's going to be focused on the practicality of what you can take to your classroom on Monday, okay? So, well, let's get started. So this is what a hybrid classroom looks like in some contexts, right? Definitely not at Unica. Don't worry, that's not us. As you can see, there is a little shield, and I guess that's Harvard School of Education. So yes, there is a camera pointing to the students in the classroom. There is a camera pointing to the teacher. There is another camera pointing to the board. There is screen in front of the teacher projecting everyone in the room, but also projecting the students on Zoom in front. So in this way, the teacher has a headset and there are speakers. Well, in a setting like this, of course, hybrid is not a problem. But we know that that's not the same case for teachers in Colombia, for teachers in the public sector, in the Secretaría, right? This is more what a hybrid classroom looks like for you. So there's a lot going on in your head. There's a lot going on in the students' lives. There's a lot going on in terms of difficulties, challenges, problems, lack of infrastructure, lack of many things. And so for us, it's a little more difficult than it is for teachers in Harvard School of Education. I'm not saying they don't have their challenges. Probably they do have their challenges, but definitely it's a different story. And because I am very sensitive about the stories of teachers in the public sector, and definitely I admire the passion, the love, and dedication that you put into your work, I brought a testimonial from a real teacher, and I would like you to listen to her and to see how you relate to her, okay? I would love to read your comments as you listen. Maybe you will definitely connect to what she's saying. And I would like us to all hear and see what the challenges for teachers in Colombia and in the public sector are.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Claudia Marcela Cuellar Bernal, docente de básica primaria de la institución educativa María Auxiliadora del municipio de Iquira, al departamento del Huila. Trabajo como docente en la zona rural del municipio, en la Escuela Buenos Aires, orientando los grados de preescolar, primero, segundo, tercero, cuarto y quinto, y las áreas de español, ciencias sociales, matemáticas, ética, religión, informática y tecnología y demás áreas relacionadas con esta etapa del proceso educativo. Hablando de los retos presentados durante esta virtualidad, puedo decir que fueron varios, sobre todo los relacionados con la conectividad, con el acceso a Internet y con la comunicación con los estudiantes, puesto que el lugar donde ellos viven pues carece de una buena señal de celular para poder establecer comunicación con ellos y haber hecho un adecuado proceso educativo, por así decirlo. La metodología que nosotros utilizamos fue a través de guías de aprendizaje elaboradas por nosotros los docentes, donde se establecieron temas específicos teniendo en cuenta las necesidades de los estudiantes y teniendo en cuenta aquellos contenidos que nosotros consideramos que eran pertinentes que los chicos lograran comprender durante este tiempo de trabajo en casa. Digo que no fue un trabajo virtual porque pues como ya lo decía no contamos con un buen acceso a internet, entonces por lo tanto las orientaciones que daba a mis estudiantes las hacía a través de llamadas telefónicas, a través de mensajes de texto, a través de videollamadas por medio de WhatsApp cuando el clima y la señal lo permitía y pues si sus padres tenían el acceso a datos, a través de videos enviados por WhatsApp o a través de mensajes también enviados por WhatsApp. El proceso se hacía también teniendo en cuenta las necesidades que los estudiantes manifestaban por este mismo medio, entonces si era necesario, pues se hacían algunos videos o algunas diapositivas que eran enviadas por WhatsApp también. Cuando regresamos a la presencialidad, nosotros lo hicimos en el mes de agosto y lo hicimos de manera completa, es decir, con todos los estudiantes, que en este momento tengo 15 estudiantes. No hubo alternancia, pues porque por la cantidad de niños no fue necesario que se implementara alternancia. Allí es donde empiezan los retos también de nuevo en la presencialidad, porque pues obviamente por las dificultades que se presentaron durante este tiempo con conectividad y acceso a llamadas con los estudiantes, pues algunos procesos. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Claudia Marcela Cuellar.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Rosa, for your comment. Definitely, this is the real scenario in public schools, right? This is the reality. In this case, in teacher Claudia, she is a teacher in a rural context. So we have, let's say, increased challenges in terms of connectivity because we know that some places in our country just have no connectivity whatsoever. So definitely, it's very challenging. We're not gonna say it's not. Everyone has very different
Buenas
challenges.
tardes,
Sorry, the video just keeps looping. Okay.
Quedaron inconclusos.
Okay, so we're going to continue because she talks a little bit about the process. And definitely, please keep your comments coming about the similarities that you have with your context or the challenges that you are experiencing in your context, similar to what teacher Claudia is telling us about. Sorry, this is not working well for me today.
Quedaron inconclusos o tal vez se dieron, por así decirlo, a medias. Entonces, nosotros ahora que estamos de manera presencial, pues hemos tenido que reforzar aquellos temas que tal vez no fueron comprendidos por los estudiantes. Hemos estado reforzando el proceso de lectoescritura con los estudiantes de primero, hemos estado reforzando contenidos con los estudiantes de preescolar y pues también reforzando temas importantes con los estudiantes del grado quinto, pues porque ellos ya saldrían para secundaria. Entonces, en este momento, ese es el trabajo que se está realizando. Obviamente, pues también se están abordando contenidos correspondientes al tercer y cuarto periodo, pero de manera conjunta se están trabajando aquellos que se hacen necesario seguir, pues, reforzando, como ya lo decía. En cuanto a al tema de bioseguridad establecido en la institución, pues se tuvo en cuenta lo que el Ministerio de Educación planteó y lo que el Ministerio de Salud también orientó. Y por lo tanto, pues como ya lo dije, nosotros estamos de manera presencial, conservando el metro de distancia, utilizando los elementos de bioseguridad, haciendo el lavado de manos cuando corresponde, con el fin de que los estudiantes pues, puedan estar de una manera segura en la institución.
Okay. Thank you so much for your comments. Yes, definitely. As Heidi says, this is the ugly truth. These are things that, I mean, for some
Quedaron
people,
inconclusos
I'm
o
sorry
tal vez
about this. There are things that for some people might seem very difficult to imagine, even too. How can you work like that, right? And definitely that is what most of you have been doing in the past months. And that's why I want to say thank you, Claudia, Marcela, and thank you all teachers in Colombia doing this. I mean, we know teaching is a vocation, teaching is a call. It's not something we do for the money, because definitely it's not for the money. It's for the students. It's for giving equal opportunities to our learners in the public sector, in the rural areas, in the private sector. Yes, we have challenges everywhere. And so teaching is, it's actually an act of altruism. It's our cooperation with society. So yes, absolutely. It is hard. It is a great challenge, and we experience amazing challenges every day. But you are here, and I'm going to look at the number, right? We have 122 teachers here on a Saturday morning, and this is for a reason. This is because you want to hear some things to go back to those children on Monday and give them something new and give them something different, because that's what teachers do. We have and this is not in order to romanticize scarcity, no, this is because actually teaching is a call, and we have a calling, and we do it for society. That our government is not paying attention and there are so many other things, yes, that's a different topic. But when we decided to become teachers, it was because we thought we could make a difference. And trust me, you are making a difference in the lives of those children. And the idea of today's sessions is thinking about these hybrid challenging environments where some students are at home because they either have comorbidities, or because they have COVID, or because their families lost their jobs and they don't have a way to send their kids to schools. Thank you, Clarita, for giving me information about some of the situations your students are facing. So because of that, we still have to struggle, with some students here, some students there. How can we do it? There's no access. How can we make this happen? So the good news is that today I'm going to share with you 3 techniques that I hope will give you some tools in order to enhance your planning. So I am going to take a look at the chat because it's going crazy. So I would like to take a look at some of those comments and maybe share them with you here. Okay, so yeah, we have something great here that it says, we had students at home and others at school. The hyperducts were amazing to solve the situation. Love that. Thank you, Diana. For those who didn't have NED, we developed worksheets, but we had to multiply ourselves. Definitely you have to stretch yourselves. We're going to see a little bit of that later. So, okay, let's see what Laura tells us. The problem is alternancia, 20 students at home, 20 in the classroom, everyone in their own different levels, some of them with special educational needs. Very hard to plan for each student. Yes, I hear you, Laura. I hear you. That is exactly what makes it more challenging, because when you have them all virtual, all face-to-face, well, at least you don't have to multiply yourself, as you said. Okay, let's see what Juan says. Not all our students have access to internet. Government doesn't support schools as it is supposed to be. Exactly. We have a lack of support. Infrastructure is an issue. Angela says, I think there isn't a difference in some context, because many parents live in the city, but they don't know how to use the technology, and they don't have the economy to have a computer. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to showcase Larita's comment. No, thank you for helping me in the preparation of this webinar. I love to have this, real life feedback input. Okay, and Andres tells us, I have a comment here, and most of the ones who have resources don't have study habits. Oh, yes, Andres, thank you so much for pointing that out. Yeah. Claudia, okay, says that's what we have to face every day. It's not only rural school here in Bogota. There are lots of places with really bad internet connection, families without fixed wireless internet or even a phone. Yes, and if that situation is like that in Bogota, can you imagine what rural teachers have to go through? I mean, let's try to to be empathetic with them too in that sense. Okay, great. Thank you so much for those comments. Yes, everyone is having difficulties. Everyone is experiencing challenges because even us, like we are in a higher education institution, but still we have our challenges because some of our students, they are scholarship holders and they live in rural areas. And so we have them there. We have our students in Bogota. We have students with no computers. We have to send them computers. Like every institution, every context will have specific challenges. And I think that is the main key point out of this first reflection. It's not to just, complain and round around the complaints that we all have. Yes, we do have some things, we experience challenges, but it's to see that every context has challenges and there is an opportunity in here, right? We have to see the opportunity. So let's go to that. Well, not all heroes wear capes, some teach. Yes, I think that was a beautiful quote that a friend of mine, Marta, used in a webinar this week. And I took it because I just think it describes you, what you do. It deserves a movie. Okay, so the pandemic has tested our flexibility. Yeah, we are definitely stretching ourselves thin. We are changing mindsets in a heartbeat. Some of us, like Julia and I, for example, we had been flipping our classes for 7 years or so. And so we had the time to adjust to the changes, to change our pedagogy, to change our mindsets. But then what COVID did was like from one day to another will be just change the rules of the game, right? You have to play a whole new game. And it has been happening since that started, March 2020, up until now. It's like a new game, right? We are like one of those games in the movie Saw. Like we let the games begin. It changes our rules. So how did it start? First, we had this rushed implementation of virtual online learning. Of course, this revealed enormous gaps in the populations in Colombia. It revealed that so many contexts had nothing, so many contexts had everything, widening the gap that there is in students between students in rural, public, and private areas, right? So we had that widening of that gap because of the technology access, because of the training of teachers, because of the ability of teachers to change their pedagogy into a more active pedagogy for the online environment, not having online platforms, as you said. Some students not even have a connection to internet, so you cannot even use WhatsApp. So all this just widened the gap a lot during 2020, the first semester. Then in the second semester, we started implementing the lessons that we learned in the first semester. So we did everything in a rush, right? Because that was the thing, next week you got to go online. So you'll see how you do it. And so everybody was kind of learning super fast about Kahoot, quizzes, Mentimeter, and all these websites that were great, and everyone was super excited. Overloaded, but super excited, learning about these new tools that we could use to enhance. But then we realized, okay, it's not about the tool, it's about the pedagogy. I have to think about goals. I have to decide what evidence I'm going to collect from my students. I have to decide how I'm going to involve parents. Parents are not involved in the process, or parents are too involved in the process, being the teacher's boss through the screen. So many great things that we were experiencing. So we started, applying those lessons that we learned and changing some things, kind of modifying. But then 2020 first semester started, and so we started looking how the difficulties increased in low-tech contexts and how hybrid models started, going on. So people started going to their offices. The economy started to move again. So there were different movements. There was something I forgot to put. Well, not I forgot. I just didn't put in this part. That is the mental problems of our students. So we started looking at higher levels of anxiety, higher levels of depression. We have something here about that too, but also in our teachers. And I think that's something that is not being discussed. The teachers' mental health. Yeah, we are worried about students' mental health, of course, but we need to worry also about the teacher's mental health. And that was another thing, overload, teachers working more hours than even possible, dealing with their families, dealing with their children, really difficult when you have your family of your own and you have to be with your kids in the online classroom, and then, be with your students also. So teachers' mental health was also a huge problem here. And then we have this new thing, hybrid continued, but then, because of needs, face-to-face was mandated, right? So now everybody has to go face-to-face, but some parents are too scared to send their kids. Some parents have problems, economical problems. Some children have comorbidities. I mean, there are so many things. So yes, I understand that in this picture, it's really hard to focus on the learning, right? Because there's so many things. There's just so many factors to control that it's really hard. However, we are doing it. We are doing it because we love education. We are doing it because we love our students. And we are doing it because we think that what we do will have an impact in their lives. And not an impact for tomorrow, an impact for life, right? So we are trying to give students the tools to build resilience, to deal with a crisis. Our students, our children today, they are different from us. We had never faced a pandemic. We didn't face a pandemic being children. We didn't face a pandemic being teenagers. We faced a pandemic being adults. So it's different. It's different to kids. It's different to teenagers. So we are doing the best we can as the adults in their lives to provide what they need to succeed, to learn, to capitalize this experience into something better for their lives. Yes, there'll be the pandemials, there'll be the kids that tell to their kids about living in a pandemic, but they will remember what they learned. Yeah. And we need to focus on that. We need to focus on creating these experiences so that students capitalize what happened and take the best out of it, right? How are your kids going to remember this pandemic? That's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Okay, so I would like to remind you of an activity you did with Felipe, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. And it was how the role had changed. Yeah, I was watching that webinar and kind of listening to Felipe reading your comments, and it was very nice to see, yes, we all changed our roles and we all started learning from this, learning from the conditions, learning from the environment, and becoming many things, right? So we have, for example, a comment here that says the ones who spend all their time using resources their parents send them back to school. Yeah, so for example, here Andres is placing an important problem here, and it's we as teachers have become managers, right? We have become managers of students' time because they don't know how to do it. Sometimes parents don't have the time to instruct their kids on how to develop study habits. There are so many things, right? And so there are so many resources that are misused in every place. So it's really hard. And so we have to think how our roles changing is going to potentialize the learning of our students. Yeah, we need to focus on making the best out of this. This is what we got. Yeah, this is what we got. This is the situation we have. And the more, by thinking about how horrible it is, we're not going to do anything with it. We are going to do something with it when we sit down and think, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I potentialize this for my future, for my career? How can I learn from this experience, which was difficult, which was challenging? But let me tell you something. When you go to the gym, right? And our friend Juli, who does CrossFit, can tell us, when your muscle grows is when you struggle, right? You don't go to the gym to just, lift a couple of weights that are this kind of weight, No, you go and you lift weights that are over your capacity a little bit, because you have to challenge yourself, and that's how you stretch, and that's how your muscle grows. The same happens with our teaching muscle. We stretch ourselves and we learn. And that is what we are doing right now. We are learning from this, and we are going to come out much better as teachers, as people. And that's the expectation, right? It's not once again, it's not to romanticize scarcity. It's to have a positive outlook out of all of what is happening. So we're going to think about planning for everyone in hybrid environments. And well, why not in face-to-face and in blended environments? Yeah, we're going to have 2022, I guess, the rest of 2021 and 2022 are going to be something like hybrid, blended, a mix of everything, right? So we're going to learn how to plan for all this different modalities. And now we're going to see that modalities are going to be a big thing. We're going to have now more modalities in our educational system. We're not going to go back to only face-to-face because our students have been so stimulated for the past 1.5 years that they will need to be stimulated with some technology, some activities, some active learning, right? So it was a good moment, right? Remember Shakira, right? We stretched ourselves and now we have to potentialize that. So I want to hear it. I have been reading the chat, kind of like, with one eye reading the chat. But I would like to ask you, and I would like us all to see. So I'm going to invite you to a Mentimeter. So let's see if that is the code, because Menti does crazy things. Yes, that's the code, 136553. Okay, so I'm going to copy that also on the chat of StreamYard so that you guys can get it there. All right. Yes. Is it a link? I don't think it is a link. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to change my screen so that I can show you the page. Thank you. Thank you, Juli. Okay, great. Okay. Didn't want that to happen. I'll just show you the screen again. Okay. All right. So how would you describe, how would you best describe the modality you are working on today? Okay. So fully online, hybrid, some students at home, some students at school, blended, some work in the computer, some work in class, or fully face-to-face. How would you assess, or how would you describe? That was the verb I used. Okay, fully face-to-face. We have that coming. We have blended. Okay. Okie doke. We have 6 votes. Okay. Hybrid is taking the lead. Wonderful. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute because I want to see you and still see what's happening. So I'll just go and share that. There we go. All righty. Fabulous. Yeah, so hybrid is taking the lead, right? Hybrid seems to be the leader here. Now in the chat, in the YouTube comments, if you can write down the situation. Is this a decision made by your school, made by your district, or is it something that happened because of the conditions of students? Like what I was mentioning at the beginning. Parents don't have money to send their kids to school, or comorbidities in the family, or COVID cases in the family. Yeah. Okay. Wow, this is a huge problem here. We have in the comment by Catherine. Yeah, she says, but the challenge is now now in face-to-face classes, and it is like students did not learn anything at home because most of the time parents did their students' homework. Okay, that's a huge stretch there, right? I wouldn't say they didn't learn anything. Yeah, maybe you have a lesson to teach about getting your parents to do your work. But yeah, definitely that's a loss of learning there. Yeah, that's a loss of learning. And you have, as the teacher Claudia was mentioning in her video, she's doing catch up. She's playing catch up with some of those students, reteaching some stuff, just focusing on some other things because students came with this voids. Yeah, they came back with these situations. Okay, Marta Moreno says there's no sound. Is that the case for everybody? Okay, we have some people talking about hybrid, but most of the time face-to-face work. Sibel even says HyFlex. Marta says hybrid. Nayla says virtual students. Marta says, okay, no. Fully online. Loinette says, I'm fully online as we don't have a building to receive our students, and we need to motivate the students to be sometimes in the virtuality. Okay, great. So going back into the Mentimeter, well, definitely we have a higher percentage of hybrid, right? So we have here another comment. I sent explained videos, answer WhatsApp messages. What kind of work is this? Well, I mean, we are talking about student participation in the classroom, right? So are they coming to the class or are they not coming to the class? Are they coming in batches? Are they coming hybridly? Yeah, this is not about the methodology of delivering content. The question is about, are they going or not going? Where are they taking their classes? Yes, Vanessa. Vanessa says hybrid is a strategy that perfectly fits to the situation we are facing in education. Yeah. Once again, it's not about like a teaching strategy. It's about the modality. Like, where are students taking their classes? Are they going to the school? Are they staying at home? Some yes, some no. Sibel even mentioned HyFlex, which is students can choose whatever they want to do. They want to take the class asynchronous. They want to take the class synchronous. They want to go to the school, like they choose. That's what HyFlex is. Okay. I have another comment here by Diego. There is another thing we, at least some of us do, have to face every day. Our students don't recognize an English class as important for their contexts. Yes, that's true. That's absolutely true. Okay. Thank you, Diego, for that comment. Okay, great. So we're going to move on to the next question. I have a couple more. So the next question is, how would you describe your students' variances? So what are the differences that you experience or that you see in your classrooms? Learning disabilities, learning difficulties, connectivity issues, lack of parental support, other can be everything, like all of them. That can be other as well. And if you want to add something on the Menti and then you want to add something on the comments on YouTube, that's fabulous. We're having a conversation here, and I think that's great. Okay, so Liliana tells us something really nice. I think students are learning all the time from difficulties and reality. Yes, absolutely. As humans, we are learning all the time, not only academics or content, Good. Okay. Another thing. Okay, we have Diana says, another thing that is stressful is that at school, some teachers want to impose their way of work. Oh, this must be flexible. That's interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting, Diana. We are a community, right? And we teachers are a little difficult. Honestly, we are difficult people. We are difficult sometimes. And so, yes, that's important to be flexible, to have a flexible mindset. Great. Thank you so much for being brave enough to put that comment there. I like that. Okay, so we have, Nathan says something awesome. The students need to share the way physical with their partners. This is very important for them, and it is motivation in their lives. Yes, I want to tell you a story. It's a cute story. My children, they never went back to the alternancia model when the school did it. because their mother is terrified of COVID. So I didn't send them. I kept them here at home, and we worked in here. Okay, they started this year face to face, right? Second day of school, my daughter comes home, and I said, "How did it go?" And she's like, "I feel alive." She's 8. Yes, absolutely. The contact with other kids, the playing on the playground, the taking your toy and sharing your toy with your friends. Yes, that makes them feel alive. I felt it was so beautiful because she's so young, and she said, "I feel alive," you know? Okay, we have something by Patsy. In my institution, students that are at home are due to the protocols, but also because their families decided to keep them at home. Yes, just like me. I decided to keep my kids at home because we are asthmatic, the 3 of us. So I thought, well, I was pretty scared. Yeah. They return to develop social abilities. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Maribel. That's a great transition, and you'll see why. Okay, let's see. I don't want to miss the comments. Some students face different situations, like losing someone from their families. At least that is what I saw in my school. So I think they learned from this experience. Yes. Oh my God, how many kids lost their grandparents, their parents, their uncles, aunts. Well, so many people. And so, yeah, they had to learn about loss. Lack of intrinsic motivation. Yes. Yes. We'll get there in a moment. Okay, let's see what Diego tells us. Even students in 10th and 11th grade receive help from their parents or a friend just to send the homework. That's why there is no learning. This generation is going out with big flaws, not only in English. Okay, we have to see. I am seeing this comment repeatedly, like parents are not letting their kids struggle. That's something we need to educate them on, like the schools. That's a responsibility to also educate parents, because I guess it's the same situation for you. Like there is Escuela de Padres and only 3 cats go, the 3 intense parents go. And they need to know that their students, their kids need to struggle. They need to build muscle, the same as us, the same as adults do. Okay, so Sibel tells me that in person is an option, not a preference yet. Okay, thank you. Socializing, Christopher. Hi, Christopher. He says socializing face-to-face is very important. It's part of our DNA and imperative for our well-being. Yes, absolutely. Right. Okay, and Marta says, I agree. Lack of love in learning. Think in a future better life. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And it's not only about the technology, because trust me, I have worked in environments where students have all the technology. Like the students, I have worked in context where the student just pulls out the laptop, the tablet, and the phone and goes out to smoke half of the class. This is not a matter of not having technology. It's a matter of, yeah, somebody said it, like lack of loving learning, Okay. Okay, well, so let's see the results. This is too small for me to read. Give me 1 second. So learning difficulties 19, yes. Learning disabilities 2, okay. Connectivity issues 4. I thought that was going to be bigger, like higher. Lack of parental support 18. And others 7. Okay, so we have this learning difficulties and lack of parental support as the highest challenges that your students are presenting. Okay, definitely 2 big problems. Yes, definitely something we can think about what to do to improve it. Let's go to the next question. Next and last. Oh my God, thank you so much, people. You're so active. How would you describe the infrastructure you count on for your classes? So we have hybrid, blended, good, bad connection, big, suitable, all building, limited, useful to play with. This is good, difficult to improve, excellent, rural, appropriate, fair, not enough. Great, fortunately. Okay, without connection. Take of this, average, difficult. Okay. Right. So we have challenges. We have connectivity challenges. This bad connection seems to be a great difficulty. Okay. Great. So infrastructure, we refer to computers, internet connection, Wi-Fi, things like those. Okay. Okay, we have something We have many comments here. I really appreciate your participation. This is what makes this webinar such a great conversation among professionals. Okay, so and some families never follow their son's process. Some of them are always asking for the food voucher. And now we are back in school. They only ask for the refreshment. Yeah, it's really, actually, Abraham Maslow talks about how difficult it is to learn when you don't have your basic needs covered, right? So one of the basic needs is food. So yeah, there is a kind of parent support, says Claudia. Kind of, like maybe they don't know how to do it. Okay. Liliana tells us some of them are lazy to learn. There is motivation, but it is really hard work to get them involved in the process again. Okay. Okay, Carlos says, we have to connect my computer at school with my cell phone internet. Oh, yes. Expectations that teachers provide the resources too, right? Okay, so yes, we have some challenges in terms of infrastructure. Okay, we're going to stop sharing this. I'm going to move away from the screen because the cloud can keep coming. Thank you so much. We can see it later if you want to. But I'm going to continue with the other thing. Okay. Okay, so this moment, to decompress, to do some catharsis are necessary as well. So we already did that. And now, yes, we know, we acknowledge this is not an easy task to do. You have faced all the possible challenges, all the possible hurdles that there are, but you did it and you're here. And you're here today, 155 people on a Saturday morning. So you are here because of a reason. You want to either get that certificate or you want to learn. And that is great, right? That is something that tells us that there is hope, right? There is hope because people are here, people are learning, people are connecting. Even though there are difficult situations, we are here to learn. We are here for the team. So yes, you earned a certificate awarded to the best teachers in the world for teaching during a pandemic with little resources, with difficult situations, and for always guaranteeing learning for your students, right? Yes, there are some cases. Yes, there are some kids whose parents never showed up. Yes, there are some new challenges, post-pandemic challenges. Of course there are. But as a Guns N' Roses song goes, and I think it's Guns N' Roses, Juliana will kill me if it's not, I never promised you a rose garden, right? When you thought about becoming a teacher, you knew this was going to be a challenge. When you decided to become a public sector teacher, you knew the challenges were going to be enormous. And you still did it. And I'm so sure it's not for the comfort. I'm sure it is because of the kids. It is because of the possible change in society that you can exert. So that's why you get your certificate today. Okay, so we're going to work on 3 techniques. Yeah, we're going to work on 3 punctual things that you can take to class on Monday that you can do in order to make this hybrid, online, blended environment that you have more enjoyable for everyone. And probably you might see some more involvement from the part of those unmotivated students. Something to remember, teachers are designers, not assigners. Yeah, internet is flooded with resources. Internet is flooded with amazing websites that give us full lesson plans, but those lesson plans were made for other kids, not for your kids. So we are designers. We need to have the design thinking idea in our heads and try to think always of our students when we are preparing an activity, not simply just what is going to be, easy to do in these 45 minutes, but what is going to help my students thrive, what is going to help my students learn. And so the 3 techniques that we're going to be looking into today are first, cell checkpoints, socio-emotional learning checkpoints. Second, in-class flips. And third, choice boards. Okay, so we have already gone through 1 hour of our webinar. Wow, with this first reflection. So we're going to get on to the first technique, which is cell checkpoints. So I mentioned something briefly, but I'm sure you have read some scary statistics about, the increase in anxiety and depression and God forbid, suicidal thoughts, suicide in our teenagers, and also in adults. This is some data from adults in the US. Yes, this is not in Colombia, but still you can see how there is an increase in 2020, especially by the end of 2020. There is a major increase in symptoms of anxiety disorder, in symptoms of depressive disorder, and in symptoms of anxiety or depressive disorder. And so, this is the reality also in our communities, right? If we think about teens and mental health, right, there are some scary numbers as well. So, for example, in the family dynamics idea, 24% of people aged 5 to 19 who have a mental disorder were in a family that have been struggling to function well. So, of the cases of students living with an abusive father, mothers being attacked by their husbands in the beginning of the pandemic when we were all in lockdown. So our students experience these situations, right? This is data from the United States, but of course in Colombia we have probably a higher number on challenges in family dynamics. Something important here is the increase in cyberbullying. Of course, we are all the time on computers, and so our students are more prone to being bullied or bully someone through social media. Also, isolation increased in 80%, especially in adolescent population. So those students who never opened their camera, they're probably there, but they were probably not there, right? And then 92% of LGBTI youth reported hearing messages about being LGBTI from school, peers, or online. 42% said they don't feel accepted. So how many kids who had already, gone out of the closet in the school because they felt more comfortable had to go back in when they had to be 24 hours at home? So no wonder why some of them don't learn. There are too many things going on in their heads. Also, I like to point here, there are a lot of percentages, but in lifestyle change, there is an increase in use of social media. No surprise there. There is an increase in the use of TV and video games. No surprise there because they couldn't go out. There is a decrease in studying. Yeah, because of course we are using TV and video games to procrastinate. And there is a decrease in sleeping and in sports. So these are some interesting pieces of data that we can use in order to think about our activities, right? Something that called my attention here was there was 72% of the respondents were considered bored. They were bored. So it's a very high percentage. And if I asked you here, probably a lot of you are bored of this whole thing. 45% reported being sad. Yeah. And 53% reported being lonely. However, 65% mentioned being positive about the future. Yeah. So we are in a moment where we want to get out, when we are thinking about getting out of this and being post-pandemic. So it's a moment where optimism is rising. 81 felt secure and safe. Well, this is good. Probably not the same situation for students. And 80% felt connected to others. So even though we are connected through their computers and we're connected to social media, there are ways to build connections with our students. And there are ways, and that's exactly what I want to talk about right now. So I want to show you this picture and think about, what did this movie teach us, right? Disney started with this whole change in movies with Brave, and then we had Frozen, and then we had, all these narratives that we grew up with have changed. And so these Disney movies help us in building these conversations with our kids, with our young. And so this movie taught us a lot, right? So I'm going to wait a little bit. I want to call Juliana, if that's possible, to ask you what the movie taught you, if you are around.
Hello, Caro.
Hello. So what did Inside Out teach you?
Well, I have seen a little bit about the movie. It's like some parts of it,
Okay.
but what I can recall from the movie is that we have different feelings, and sometimes we need to learn how to deal with our emotions in different situations. We cannot be in one way or the other. We need to understand ourselves, our emotions, and try to balance them depending on the situation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. That's it. I love, okay, sorry, I took that one. This showed to me the state of feelings of our students and teachers. And Clarita says, I love that movie because that teaches us that all emotions are important, right? So remember how in the movie, Joy, Joy is the owner of Riley, and joy makes her all the time happy and everything works wonderfully. But then when sadness appears, it's like, I know, eche pa allá, no, 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 you stay in that circle. You don't come here. You don't bother Riley. No, no, no. But then it is the moment. I love the movie. I have children, so I just watched children movies like 80 years ago. I haven't watched an adult movie. So Bing Bong, the imaginary friend of Riley, is super sad because Riley is forgetting him. She's growing up. She's 11, right? And he cries and cries his candies. And only when sadness hugs him and allows him to feel that sadness is when everything goes better. And he's like, oh, right? And this is kind of, I don't want to say it's a fad, because it's not. Finally, we're paying attention to emotions as something important, and we need to, and we have to. I'm so sorry about that. Especially now, post-pandemic, during pandemic, emotions are there, and never before was mental health and mental health, wellness, and all these ideas so important, right? So the technique one is cell checkpoints, right? Social emotional learning checkpoints before starting class, whether face-to-face or any other means. Always do a wellness check. Yeah. So the thing is, you are presenting to me on that chat so many problems, so many difficulties. If you are teachers, you are adults, and I'm giving you the opportunity to share all these questions, all these problems, all these issues, and you share them, imagine what it can do for kids. They feel heard, they feel seen, and that is actually very important. The reason why they don't turn on the camera, I was mad, like the first times I was a little mad, and I started asking my students, and then I realized what was happening. Situations at home, people back in the camera, they didn't want their classmates to see their houses, well, you name it. So it is important for you to stop and to make this wellness checks, okay? All right, so make it an opportunity to practice language. You might be saying, Carolina, but I am not the teacher or the orientador. This is not my problem. This is everybody's problem, okay? This is everybody's problem because we teach people, right? We work with people. We are people. And it's okay to share that with our students. It is okay for them to understand that we have emotions. We are emotions. As Única, we promote this. And we can make it a learning opportunity. Yeah. For example, here, now, choose one. How are you feeling today? Right? Disappointed, happy, excited, embarrassed, angry, scared, sad, confused, nervous? How are you feeling today? Right? And if you want to take it even further, here is a mood meter with 100 words for emotions. We don't have vocabulary for emotions. We use something, and I'm gonna use it, and I hope we don't get in trouble or we don't get banned. But we use a term called malparidez existencial, which is what? Excuse me? What is that? We use that to describe feeling sad, feeling down, feeling disappointed, feeling, okay, I have a lot of vocabulary here. Nervous, frightened, furious, apprehensive, right? We don't have the vocabulary. How are you doing? How are you? How are you feeling? Okay, right? We are so accustomed to ask that question in an empty way. How are you? We just all the time, how are you? But we don't care. Like if a student says, oh, I'm sad, I'm down, I'm tired, we are like, oh my God, I opened Pandora's box. I don't want to do that, right? So it is something that we can do. Of course, we are not the orientador. We have to know our limits. But definitely, for example, this we can take up as an exercise for teaching vocabulary, right? I use it with my students. Which word are you on today? Let's open up a dictionary, try to find something that describes exactly how you're feeling, So this can be a way to engage with language. So I want to point you to the direction of Mark Brackett. In his book, Permission to Feel, it's very similar to the whole idea of Inside Out, the movie. So yes, it is about, as he says here, unlocking the power of emotions to help our kids, ourselves, and our society thrive. So in this book, Mark Brackett makes the case for a system that he calls RULER, right? And RULER stands for recognizing emotions in self and others, understanding the causes and consequences of emotions, labeling emotions accurately. So that's why he has the mood meter with 100 emotions there, expressing emotions appropriately, yeah, and regulating emotions effectively. We can do so much with this. Oh my goodness, it's so much. In that book, he explains each one of them little by little, how to do it if you're a parent, how to do it if you're a teacher. It really is a great book if you want to read something, if you ever have the time. But anyway, long story short, it is, this. Just recognizing emotions in self and others, understanding that not everything is about you. Sometimes we take things too personally. Like, me miró, no me miró, me dijo, no me dijo. It's not about you. It probably is something going on in that person's head. So we need to recognize emotions in them and in ourselves too, right? Understanding the causes and consequences. Yes, of course, as I said before, we are in our first pandemic. We have to understand that this is a situation that is hard economically, health-wise. There's so many challenges, yeah? Labeling emotions accurately. What am I feeling? What is this? What is this that I'm feeling, right? Expressing them appropriately, not kicking and punching and yelling and hitting, but expressing them correctly. And we can turn this into a class activity, right? So I want to go to the chat because there's a lot going on. So I am working with emotional intelligence. I am optimistic. I love that mood meter. Okay, somebody was talking about meditation, I think. Okay, I missed it. I kind of saw it, but great. All that we're doing, it works. So I would like to build some connections between social emotional learning and language teaching, right? It's not isolated. It's not crazy. We can totally build the connections. So this is the model proposed by Kassel in 2013. And it has 5 different stages or 5 different parts. 2 of them are about the self, that are self-management and self-awareness, and 3 are social, that are social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. If you go to the Kassel website, you're going to find amazing resources there. You're going to find downloads and explanations and so many things. But today, I want to build a connection between this and learning a language, right? So self-management is managing emotions and behaviors to achieve one's goals. You teachers have mentioned on the right, on the chat, how many students have no idea about study habits, how many students have no idea about what they want. They are splurging the resources that their parents give them. That's why they want them to go to school. So here, self-management skills, we can teach this in the English class. How? Setting language learning goals. What is your language learning goal for this term? Learn vocabulary. No me sirve. Too general. Give me something that you can do in this 3 weeks of class. How many words are you going to learn? About what? Get the student involved in producing the learning goals for their class, right? For their language. Some of you mentioned, students don't see the connection between English and their lives. Make them see that connection. You can watch a movie. Tell me a movie you like. Tell me a video game you like. If you learn this vocabulary, I'll play with you half an hour of each of whatever is in fashion today, right? Okay, establishing time frames to achieve them regardless of obstacles. Okay, teacher, I don't have a computer. I don't have a, okay, you don't have something. Give me solutions. Don't give me problems. Give me solutions. How are you going to achieve that goal if you don't have any resources? How are you going to do it? Teacher, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you questions during break time. Okay, I don't like that. I'm going to send you a WhatsApp audio. Okay, great. Negotiate the time frames for students to achieve or to, to get to their goals. Acknowledging one's limitations as a learner. Yeah. What is so difficult for you? What is the most difficult aspect of learning English for you? Ay, no, teacher, es que eso yo no entiendo nada. Okay, why don't you understand? Tell me why. No, porque, okay, they don't know. They don't know what their limitations are. So have them explore them. Invite them to explore their own limitations. Deciding a course of action to go around one's limitations, right? This is another way. Okay, so that's your limitation. You don't understand. Okay, what can you do? Okay, teacher, I'm going to listen to music in English. Okay, so what is your favorite genre? I love reggaeton. No, reggaeton, there's no reggaeton in English. Let's do hip hop. Okay, listen to hip hop. You're going to learn some vocabulary. You're going to learn to listen. You're going to learn some tones. Okay, great. Learning to deal with frustration. That's also self-management. We can teach our students that learning a language is not something that goes fast. Learning a language presents its challenges, but you have to work for it. In learning a language, you have to be intentional. And this self-management refers to managing emotions and behaviors. You cannot give up every time you have an obstacle. How are you going to go around it? So you can have all these little conversations with students. You can have them in Spanish. You can have these conversations in Spanish in your English class and invite them to do this exercise and follow up on that exercise. Don't worry about the content. Yeah, the content is in the world. You're going to fill students in with these skills. You are mentioning there on the comments that students don't have study habits. Help them build them, okay? Second block, self-awareness. So this one refers to recognizing one's emotions and values as well as one's strengths and challenges, right? So it's about knowing themselves as learners. Well, in general, in the model, as people, but in this case, as learners, okay? So how do we do this? Reflecting about one's own strengths and challenges to learn the language. You can do that exercise, strengths, challenges. What are the things you are good at? What are the things you're not so good at? How? Why? How have you identified them? Students have never asked themselves these questions if we don't prompt them. Yeah, they will. This is not something that comes naturally. Understanding my learning values. What is learning for me? Why am I at school? Do I just have to be here? Do I just, I'm not going to get anything out of 11 years of my life in a school? I'm just going to be all the time bored and annoyed? No. What do I want to learn? What do I want to take from this experience, right? What are my learning values? And identifying emotions towards the language. You know, guys, that learning English brings some negative emotions of embarrassment. It's the language ego. It's all this thing about feeling stupid when you're talking, So how do you feel about it? Let's okay, you feel scared. Okay, how can we face that fear? How can I help you face that fear? How can I create an activity that will push you forward and you will see yourself succeed? Yeah, thinking about ways to get students succeed. Okay. All right, so we're going to see the next one, which is social awareness. Social awareness starts in the social area. Now we're going to show understanding and empathy for others, right? So turn taking in conversations. By taking turns in a conversation, by not talking when another person is talking, all this respectful behavior that we teach, all this is related to social awareness, right? Perspective taking. Place a topic that is going to have different perspectives. Have students think about it. If they don't have the vocabulary, give it to them. If they don't have the language ability, give them sentence chunks, as Diana was pointing out last week. Give them some beginnings of phrases, help them, give them scaffolds so that they can express their perspective about something. Yeah. Facts versus opinions analysis, critical thinking. Yeah. Let's go into the news and see what is real, what is not real, what is just an opinion, what is a fact. Yeah. Listening attentively. This is another way in which we can build social awareness. Yeah. We listen to what's happening. We listen to our classmates. We listen to understand, not to respond. And that is, we're teaching our students social awareness skills. Okay, then we go into relationship skills. Teamwork. Yep, this one is about forming positive relationships, working in teams, and dealing effectively with conflict. So necessary at schools. And you might tell me, but Carolina, this is not my thing. I'm the English teacher. Yes, this is your thing. It's everybody's thing, right? And English, it's not like math. Like the poor math teacher only has to focus on, teaching the math formula. But we in English, we can teach about whatever we want. I mean, the content lends itself to do so many things. So teamwork, guys, somebody was saying it on the chat, cooperative and collaborative learning strategies. Yes, build them into your classroom, 4 corners, make them discuss, make them pair, make them work together. Yeah, communicating assertively. Yeah, teach them how to communicate assertively. But for this, my darlings, you have to learn it first. We teachers, we adults, we need to learn to communicate assertively. Some of us have grown up in environments where we are not assertive communicators. And so this is something we need to learn. It's a great challenge, but it's a worth one, okay? Nonviolent communication. We have to teach our students about this. If you don't know about this, Marshall Rosenberg has a beautiful protocol of 4 steps about nonviolent communication. You can use this with students and parents. Parents can have this non-assertive communication, authoritative communication, and this breaks up relationships, right? Conflict resolution through role plays. Yeah, we can do that. We can act out. Whenever you do role plays all the time, don't you? So include some of these, thorny topics into your role play. Have students discuss, for example, something about video games. Like, I don't know much about video games, but I know they know a lot about that. And so I know you will interest them by talking about that stuff. So for example, I think Fortnite and Minecraft are 2 of the most popular games now, but they too have different perspectives. Yeah, Fortnite is kind of like killing people, fighting, I don't know. And then Minecraft is about building. Yeah, so have them discuss about that. Yeah, have them resolve conflicts around what they love. I don't know. I might be wrong. If you are a gamer, I'm so sorry. Okay, responsible decision making, right? Making ethical, constructive choices about personal and social behavior. Yes, no, Carolina, but I teach to 2nd graders. Fantastic. They have to make ethical decisions, even if they are 7, right? So one of the most responsible decisions they can make is to manage their time. You are telling me on the comments, teachers, that these students have no time management. Like they don't know how to organize themselves. They don't know how to study. Teach them techniques. Teach them the Pomodoro technique to study. Teach them the 50-10 technique. Teach them that, because probably they don't know. Most likely they don't know. I am a university professor and I have to teach my students to do this because they come without knowing them. Okay, so teach them to manage their time. Help them do a productivity schedule. Yeah, help them sit down and write which times of day they are more productive, which times of day they're not productive. Teach them to organize the 24 hours of the day. And this message is special for a friend who is watching, right? There are 24 hours in the day. 4 hours should be devoted to sleep, or 7 if you're an adult. 8 hours for work and 8 hours for fun. Yeah, fun, family, going grocery shopping, whatever you need to do in life. And everybody has the same 24 hours. We are spending our time in a way that it's not productive. It's not fulfilling. It's not helping us flourish. It's not helping our well-being. You need to work on that, right? Autonomous learning. You're telling me that they don't know how to make decisions about their learning. So you can promote this responsible decision making. Also, another important thing is to understand that decisions have their consequences, right? Oh, yes, honey, you can decide not to do the homework, but you know what the consequence is. And you talk about it with them, and they'll be like, that happens with my kids. Yeah, and my kids arrive from school, and they ask me, so, mommy, can I watch TV? And I'm like, well, you know what you need to do. I don't have to be like, going over and over and over. No, if you want to watch TV, you have to do A, B, C, and D. There are some rules. But if we don't have rules at the beginning, it's hard for them to respect them. And if we don't offer them choice, it's hard for them to be autonomous. So we have to reflect about that as well. Okay, reflecting on one's role in social and personal behavior. We are part of a community. In your classroom, that's your community, the classroom. In their family, that's their community. What is your role in there? How are you cooperating or not in that role? Have conversations, yeah. Have meetings, like social emotional meetings where you talk about these things, even if it's in Spanish. Talking to parents about hard topics like loss of jobs. Have students do that. Sometimes topics are not discussed at homes. Things are not discussed. And the kids are there kind of with that cloud on their heads because they're never part of those conversations. Teach them to have those conversations. Okay? Right. And that was one. That was one of the models, which is the CASEL model, right? The other model is PERMA, which is proposed by Martin Seligman in 2011. And PERMA is a theory of well-being, right? Here we can also integrate so many things. So positive emotions is the first. How do we integrate positive emotions in our class? Well, we create activities that make students experience them. Which are the positive emotions? According to Barbara Fredrickson, there are 10. Love, awe, yeah, surprise, gratitude, yeah, interest, a sense of pride, a sense of feeling, like I'm great, serenity. The teacher who said that they were using meditation, you are promoting this serenity in class. Inspiration, inspire students with stories. Hope, yeah, give them hope. Build activities that will build hope. Amusement, yeah, sometimes you can amuse or create an activity to amuse students. Joy, make them experience the joy of learning. Yeah, if you are carrying a bag with a bunch of rocks, you're not going to enjoy that. But if you take one rock at a time and you're moving it from one place to another, you might enjoy the whole task. You know what I mean, right? So these are 10 different emotions, 10 different positive emotions that if you look at them, it's not difficult. We can totally mix them with our English classes. Yeah. I'm going to ask you, Juli, I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that, Juliana, but if you can tell them about your gratitude activity, that would be awesome. Sorry about that. Are you around, Juli? Yeah. sorry. Yeah, I was just because we're talking about the positive emotions, and I know you did a gratitude activity a little time ago.
Yeah.
So can you share with the teachers?
Well, yes, I implemented it was like a project that I had with my students. So I remember that I asked them to take some pictures about the things that they feel gratitude for. For example, I don't know, it was a beautiful day, or maybe pictures from their kids or their family members. So at the end, they had to write a journal about these moments of happiness and of course that they feel gratitude for. So then they have to write an essay describing the three most important aspects.
Beautiful. And that's it. We can integrate this into our teaching. You say, Carolina, but my students don't have the vocabulary to write an essay. I understand. That's okay. You can write 3 things you're grateful for today, just 3 things, and you can work on vocabulary. I'm grateful today for my family. I'm grateful for you, teacher. I'm grateful for the banana I ate at breakfast. Like it doesn't have to be like
Yeah.
great things. It
Small
doesn't have
things.
to be an essay. It can be a small thing. What Juliana did, for example, with the pictures. I know there are a lot of you teachers that have like an Instagram private group or something like that for pictures. You can share something there, and they have to write the caption. That's the task. That's the task. And so we can use this pictures, for example, for any of the positive emotions. What brings you awe? What makes you go, wow? Think about that. Think about that, and you see that immediately your heart pumps. Think about your child, your baby, when the baby was born, when they took it out of you, mothers. Think about that moment when they put your baby on your face. It's impossible not to feel warmth in your heart, right? If we include these things in our class, you can practice anything you want. You can practice vocabulary about food. You can practice a vocabulary about the weather. You can practice any grammar tense. I mean, whatever, you name it. Just switch it, change it. Change the topic that you are going to be teaching and use it for this, use it for promoting positive emotions. Instead of going, what is your daily routine in a more, like, let's say, generic way, say, what are the actions in your routine that make you feel happy? Write them down. What times do they happen? Yeah. When my mom kisses me goodbye in the morning, or when I get to school and I see my friends, or when I go for lunch with my grandmother, these kinds of things will bring positive emotions and will build positive connections to our students and their learning of English. That was something that somebody was saying here. I think that was the comment that I had showcased, was when emotions are integrated into the learning process, the situations are not easily forgotten. Yes, there is research on neuroscience that says that when we feel positive emotions, we are going to connect that experience and we're going to learn that. It's going to stay with us, So yes, definitely, Rosa. Thank you so much. That's absolutely true. And my God, Azucena, hello. So good to see you. The principal ingredient to teach is teaching with love and give affect to them all the time. I know you are one of those teachers, Azucena, that gives your love not only to your students, but to your entire community. And yes, that's it. Love. Promote the feeling of love in your classes. Yeah. You might say, no, estás te enloqueció. It's possible. Trust me. Trust me. I have a hyper duck with that. If you want it, I can give it to you as a gift for today's session. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is engagement. Engagement is wonderful. And here it's another movie by Disney, which is called Soul. Did you watch it? There was one. Sorry, I got all excited and I forgot to speak. So it was about the saxophone player. I think it's a jazz artist or piano. I don't remember. And it talks about the flow state. Yeah. What is flow? Flow, according to Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, that's impossible to pronounce. It's the feeling that you get when you're doing something that you like very, 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 very much, and you get lost. You lose track of time. You don't feel hungry. You don't feel any need. It's when you're doing something you really like. And so you need to create activities that can take students to a state of flow. What are those things they want to do? You tell me, no, the only thing they enjoy is running. Okay, take them running. Take them running for a while. Let them run like crazy, and then put them to do something else. Yeah. Allow students to flow. Don't push them so much for time. Yes, I know we have some concepts to cover, but sometimes, and I can tell you this because I did it constantly, awfully. I hate myself for that, because students were talking, they were practicing, they were using their vocabulary, and I was like, oh my God, I need them to finish. And so, okay, guys, let's finish the activity. Yeah. And I killed the moment. And then when we kill the moment, we start, breaking all these moments of connection. So promoting this, it doesn't have to be 2 hours, it can be 15 minutes of doing something that they're actually enjoying. Create opportunities to engage with content considering what moves students. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you a story about a teacher. The other day, I'm directing their thesis, and they are public school teachers, and they thought, well, we're gonna give our students a reading about Harry Potter because Harry Potter is so cool, right? Students were bored to death. They hated it. And I told them, well, Harry Potter is cool for us. Harry Potter is 20 years. The movies are 20 years. So for students, that's not hot anymore. And I asked them, what did you learn from this experience? And what they said was, I learned that I have to hear my students, that I have to know what they care about. And I have to learn about that. Yeah. There's nothing so good as asking your students. Nothing. They're going to tell you things that you're like, oh, really? Okay. Didn't think of that. Never. For example, I'm learning about, what is it that my daughter, I don't even remember though. Okay. So my son is into Pokemon these days again. Yeah. The Pokemon lovers. Pokemon came back. And so my son is into Pokemon, and all the time he's telling me about Mewtwo and this other one that is Go and this other one that is, okay, whatever. I can choose not to listen, or I can choose to pay attention, and be like, okay, so now you are Pokemon, whatever, the fastest one, in order to make your bed. And that's how I get him to cooperate, just listening what they are interested in. Okay, great. I love that you are making so many comments. This chat is on fire. It's great. Okay, thank you for sharing those comments there on the screen. So positive relationships. This is super crucial. This is great. Create opportunities for students to build meaningful relationships with peers and with you. And I don't have to tell you this, because some of you are more important to your students than their parents, because you know them better than their parents, right? You know what they fear, you know what they like, you know what they don't like, you know what they are scared of. And so it's because you build those authentic relationships with students. This is just to remember, for some people that might be too worried about covering content. Remember, we don't teach content, we teach people, okay? Plan activities for students to share what they love. Once again, yes, use this as an excuse. You can teach any vocabulary with Pokemon. You can teach any vocabulary with Fortnite and Minecraft. Yeah, you just have to get into the flow. Just have to get there. About that, Marlene asks, could not understand the expression flow in the learning process. Now I understand very clear. Oh, thank you. She's saying that now it's clear. Okay, yes, that moment. Oh, isn't it beautiful when you are in a state of flow? It's so positive. You feel like the time stopped. It's beautiful. Sometimes there are topics you read, you feel like that. Okay, the next one in PERMA. Remember, PERMA, it's the acronym. It's meaning. And here I will call out my friend Azucena. This is a big call out because she does this. That is, use projects to engage students with their immediate community. Example, collecting food or money for people in need. Yeah. And you can build the entire project in English. Yeah. You can build this in English class. You can negotiate the roles, who is going to do what. You can give them the vocabulary about, delivering, thinking, processing, buying, sharing, etc. And then you go into the community and you speak Spanish to the community, because that's the community. But you are building meaning in your class, reality, connections that are real. And students definitely will appreciate these learning experiences. And the last one, last but not least, is achievement. Yeah, of course, we have to provide students with opportunities to succeed, not only to fail. English, it's one of those classes. English is one of those classes that students are like meh about, because it's hard, because it has no immediate connection to their lives, so we have to build that. We have to give them opportunities to succeed. My suggestion to you here is highlight the points they got right, not the ones they got wrong in a quiz, for example. I don't know if you have seen that TED Talk by Rita Pierson called Every Kid Deserves a Champion. It's one of the most beautiful TED Talks I've seen in my life. If you haven't seen it, definitely Saturday plan, watch it with popcorn, okay? Rita Pierson, Every Kid Deserves a Champion, or something around those lines. And she says that. She says, that she graded her quizzes with +2, not -18, you know? And the kid came back to her and said, but I failed, right? And she said, well, yeah, but you didn't make me fail. You showed me +2. And she said, yes, because you didn't get them all wrong. And the kid was excited. Yeah. So sometimes, and I'm guilty of that because I read thesis and I give a lot of negative comments. I have to be honest with you. This is not all strawberries. Yes, sometimes we focus too much on the mistake. We have to focus on what is right. We have to give every now and then, this, okay, you got three right out of 20. Okay, you still need to work. You know what? I have done something also that is to modify my rubrics. And in my rubrics, it says like excellent, good, needs improvement, and not there yet. Yeah, my category, thinking about Carol Dweck and the growth mindset, is not poor or insufficient. No, it's not there yet. This immediately gives a sense to the student that I really need, to improve. It's not like I'm a failure. I need to improve. So this helps, okay? And last but not least, you can use game elements or game mechanics in your classes. I'm pretty positive you have heard about gamification and about badges and leaderboards and about all these, cool things. For example, you can use, I'm going to write it on the chat here. Octalysis is a model by Yukai Chow, who is an expert on gamification, and he presents 8 core drives, 8 motivators for people. And so you can build these game mechanics into your classes. So for example, one of them is a scarcity, right? We are motivated when there are not enough resources. And so you can, for example, give them a timer. You can give them a timer for an activity, and this will give them a sense of rush. And that little sense of rush is going to help them focus better on the task. Things like those, very little things like those. There is, I don't know if Juli said this is the last webinar. So there is a great webinar online about this. I will share it with Juliana so she can share it with you via email, if that's okay. All right. So remember, dear teachers, teachers help students find important things they've lost every day. Sometimes it's a paper, backpack, or jacket. Other times it's courage, confidence, or a smile. I think this was a beautiful quote I found around, and I wanted to share it with you. And so it's the moment for some dancing because we've been sitting and listening for an hour and a half. I thought it was going to be a little earlier. I'm sorry. And I need everybody to stand up. Even Juliana. I'm going to remove myself from the transmission so that you can do this exercise.
Tú le peras con la papaya.
No digáis nada, no os entendería.
¡Se la banana! Oh, man. Banana, 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 banana. Tu le peras con la papaya. C'est la banana. Papayera. Tu le peras con la papaya.
Okay. Oh, yes, I'm missing that one. So how was it? I did it. As you can see by my breathing. Okay, this is excellent, says Rosa. Yes, it's a wonderful exercise, right? Right. Yeah, well, that was not a coffee break. That was a let's activate ourselves. Yeah, now we want banana and papaya. Fabulous. Okay, so yeah, could I share the link of the Zumba? Sure. Yeah, well, that's actually a YouTube video. So, Juli, can you please help me out with sharing that link? I'm like,
Yeah, sure. But I don't have access to the link, so I'm going to look for the name of it through
yeah,
YouTube.
it's yeah, because that's an embedded video in the presentation. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Don't worry.
Okay, great. So we're gonna move on because we have a couple more things to go, right? Oh my gosh, sure. That's a beautiful one. My children love that song, and they say that that's the Minecraft, El Paso de Minecraft. I have no idea what that means, but anyway. Okay, so number 2 is in-class flips. So this in here, I want to cite and call out my friend Marta Ramirez, who I have been working with for this project for so many years. Since 2017, we have been working together on in-class flip. And so I want to share that with you. Hopefully, if you guys feel this is too much information, it is. Definitely it is. Marta has a wonderful blog post that I can share with you after the session. Actually, I can share my slides if that's okay. Because there are, like explanations for each part of this, because you might think it's too much information today. So I'll definitely share that with you. So we say our definition is that in-class flips are providing flipped content in class through different resources in a variety of ways. Yeah, we understand that students have a lack of parental support. We understand that there are some difficulties that students face when at home. And we know that sometimes only when we have them in the classroom, we can help them. We can actually provide them with the content in different ways. Okay, so we are going to move on to the different types of in-class flip. Yeah, so we propose 2 types. One is with stations and the other is without stations. So anyway, whenever we have stations, we work on these types of stations here. So we can have a flip station, we can have a practice station, we can have independent station, feedback station, teacher support station, and peer instruction station. I want you to understand stations like physical, that can be physical, like a table and 3 chairs or something like that. Or virtual, like with stations being virtual, can be a breakout room, for example. Okay. So thank you, Juli. She's sharing there the link for the video, and everybody enjoyed it very much. So I'm very happy. Okay. So let's start with the in-class flip station work. We have 4 possibilities. We have the sequenced, the mixed, the looped, and the half and half. What do they mean? In a sequence station, you will have 3 or 4 or whatever stations you need, depending on the number of students you have, but they will be linear, right? So students will go all of them to station 1, then to station 2, then to station 3. And you might tell me, wow, Carolina, but how am I going to do this if I have 40 students? How am I going to put all my 40 students in station 1? You don't. You duplicate, right? You duplicate the stations so that you have 4 stations 1, 4 stations 2, 4 stations 3, something like that, so that all students can be, at the same time without being all together in the same place. Yeah. Okay, there is another configuration which we called the mixed configuration. In here, we have a flip station that is not necessarily used. I mean, we can use it, but it's not necessarily used. This will go to the students who haven't accessed the information. So the flip station is for the information access. Practice stations are stations with activities, right? And an independent station, it can be something for the fast finishers, or it can be something for extra explanations, things like those, okay? Then we have the looped configuration. In the loop configuration, the flip stations are outside, okay? And students go around the loop, but they have to complete the loop, yeah? If you see here in the mixed, it's like students go from one to the other. They come, it's pretty free, this one. But here, it's like you have to go through all the loop together. However, you can start in any point in the loop, So like, for example, let's think in terms of language. I'm teaching, let's say that I'm going to be teaching life experiences with the use of the present perfect, right? Like that's what I want my students to learn that day. So in the flip station, I will have some materials to explain. Yeah. Maybe that material can be a video, maybe it can be a tutorial, maybe it can be a presentation, whatever. And in the practice stations, I'm going to have some fill in the blanks activities. I'm going to have some sentence completion. I'm going to have some organization of sentences, and I'm going to have a song, right? I mean, whatever. You just call it whatever you want. And the other one is the half and half configuration, where half of the class are with the teacher and half of the class are working independently. This station is wonderful. This configuration is wonderful when you have big classes and when you have people who didn't understand the topic or who you need to help to assist more closely, and you have some other students that are more like independent, right? Or like high flyers, those that you explain once and they got it. Those students can go into the independent station. However, you can switch, right? Students can come back to your stations. So then we have the in-class flip, initially called non-station work, but later renamed in situ work. And here we don't have stations. Yeah, we just have a lesson, let's say, that students can work in solo, duo, or group. A hyperdoc, for example, it's an in situ work, okay? In here, you provide students with different flipped content via video, text, podcast, digital lessons, music, anything you want, text, whatever. And then you have them access the information in solo, or meaning individually, in pairs, or in groups. And you can have that whole lesson designed, and students will, rotate or navigate in the lesson. What I said, a hyperdoc is a perfect example of this in-class flip, this type of in-class flip. So these are some station ideas for language classes. So for example, if you look at the purple stations, these are flipped instruction. So for example, if you are teaching short story writing, what is a short story? And story vocabulary would be in the flipped station. And then choose a character, choose a setting, choose an obstacle, choose a starter, write your story would be practice stations. This can be a configuration of 7 stations here, okay? For a workshop on punctuation, you can use comma rules, comma explanation as the flipped instruction. You can use, for example, sentence correction, identify errors, and audio transcription in the different practice stations, and a board game in the standalone for practicing grammar and vocabulary, right? And in a figurative language class, you can have an explanation here on the flipped instruction, cutouts for matching, a YouTube song, and figurative language board game as practice stations, and a vocabulary card game. So think about the class you already plan. The class you plan is linear, right? You do one, then you do the second, then you do the third, and everybody does the same at the same time. If you do this, you are just opening that lesson plan that you already did into stations, and you can offer different configurations for your students to do it sequentially, jumping up and down, rotating, whatever you feel like. Okay? Marta has taken it further into using hybrid in-class flips, right? She has planned this lesson. This is a very cool lesson about writing. She teaches academic writing. And so this is a very cool lesson that she put in a Genially. Yeah, Genially is a wonderful website for doing this kind of things. And she did it on a Genially for her students who were at home. And as you can see, I mean, it's too tiny, too little for you, but on the walls of the classroom, there are some posters, yeah, so mini posters. And so in those mini posters is the same information that she has for the virtual students. So she did it, in both scenarios. So it's a hybrid model. There is a great blog post for this one as well, explaining each of the steps and the materials if you want to take a look at her blog, okay? So the technique 2 is plan an in-class flip to maximize your use of yourself in both environments and to promote autonomy. Yeah, you can, what I said, you have your lesson plan that is linear, you just open it up into stations, just create it in the form of stations. You can transform your worksheets also into an in-class flip, las guías, you can transform those into an in-class flip, and you can do it even hybrid. So the students who are at home can do it. You think of the activities, of course, taking into consideration that students don't have connectivity and all the challenges. So you think of the activities and you think of the possible sequence, but this will add something, motivation. Okay, just changing it into this setting will add a little bit of motivation for your students to get to do them. And if to top it off, you add some gamifying elements like a badge every time a student completes a station, you got a winner, okay? All right, this is one of my plannings. As you can see, all these beautiful figures. I just have a YouTube video where I explain how I planned an in-class flip for my English 3 class. And it's just, in grammar in-class flip, I used to flip the grammar in my class. So this was part of what I did. And I had 5 different stations where students, had to rotate through the 5 stations. There was a flip station with videos on a grammar playlist. There was a Q&A also here, so you can see that this is actually very simple. It's just taking your regular lesson plan and open it up into stations. It's going to require a little bit of planning for the resources of each one of the stations, but it's time well spent, trust me. Okay, remember that creativity is intelligence having fun. Okay, so this is just about transforming, the things you already have into a little bit different so that students feel, oh, there's a change, right? And they respond to that very positively. Well, and I have to rush through number 3 because we have only 10 minutes. And so we are all different. We know that. And that has something that we have learned through these times that we are living in. We have seen so many different situations our students are in. So if we are all different, why do we teach everyone the same way? Yeah. I don't know. So we can use differentiated instruction. So according to Carol Ann Tomlinson, the differentiated instruction guru, differentiated instruction is simply a teacher attending to the learning needs of a particular student or small groups of students rather than teaching a class as though as all individuals in it were basically alike. We need to understand that our students have differences. Their students have variances, that they have different rates and levels of understanding. And so just considering that is making us differentiate our lessons. So we are seeing differences in our students. We are seeing differences in as I mentioned, in the Mentimeter, different learning disabilities, lack of connectivity, lack of parental support. So we need to design for the French as you will involve everybody. So this is something that I mentioned actually in the webinar about hyperdocs. I used the same quote because I used the same theory, which is UDL, Universal Design for Learning. If we think about everybody, if we think with a universal idea, I mean, you guys can be thinking of Juan, Santiago, Jonathan, Jason, Felipe, Andrea, Marcela, you know, your students, each one of them. Just think about them. You don't have to plan one lesson for each one of them. You just have to consider them, you know, like think about them when you are planning. And so the question might emerge, how am I supposed to do all that, right? Am I supposed to plan 50 lessons? No, I can just use a very simple tool to do this. What is that simple tool? Choice boards, yeah? I'm going to show you some examples and I'll walk you through them. So, but before that, I have here a comment by Carlos says, please put all the pictures again, the before slide. What do you mean? This one? This one? Okay, just for the record, all my images are taken from Pixabay. Yeah, that's a free website where you can gather the images without attribution. So just if you want this image, Pixabay. There you go. Okay, great. So we design for everybody, right? So we have something here. While I was doing online activities, I realized my students were copying the activities. How do we deal with it? Well, Diana, it's a very simple answer. You don't give them tasks where they can copy. Yeah, you give them tasks where they need to think, personalize, make it theirs. Yeah, because if we give them, like, let's say, for example, a research task where they can simply just go to a website and bring it, then blame it on the task, right? Not on the student. But if you want the students to really get to do something, you give them a task that they need to personalize. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Virginia. Virginia asks, choice boards is quite time consuming for teachers to prepare, isn't it? Well, I wouldn't think so. I think it's more time consuming to plan in-class flips than to plan choice boards. Yeah, I'll show you some of my examples. Okay, so my tool is the choice boards, right? So Juli, if you can, there is a link in this slide. Please, can you give it to the teachers on the chat? This is a choice board that I did on a website called Slides Mania. Slides Mania is wonderful because it has templates. Yeah, I don't have time. I have two children. I have two very demanding children. So I have to, you know, do things as fast as I can and of course, as good as I can, as well as I can, but fast. And so Slides Mania gives me templates. And so, for example, I just grabbed this template. As you can see, I'm obsessed with my Bitmoji. So I just put the Bitmoji in, change in the activities, and that's all. So Juliana is going to share with you the link.
Sorry, Caro, but I don't have access to the presentation, so that's why.
Through the presentation. Okay, okay. So I'm sorry, I didn't understand that when you said it at the first time. Okay, let's see if I can do that right now. Because I definitely would like them to see this one. Oh, yes, you have the opening. I'm sorry. Okay, you should be now able to share it. Yeah?
Yes,
okay, wonderful. Okay, great. So this one is super easy. It's a choice board for sentence types. Yeah. And so Juliana is going to share with you the link so that you can have it there and, you know, make a copy of the presentation and use it to start it, right? So this is another one that I did for teachers this was a teacher training session, and it's about skills and tech tools choice board for teachers. So there are some tools for listening, reading, speaking, writing. Virginia, as you can see, this is super basic, you know, like a Word, Google Doc. And I just created a little chart, changed the color, put the logos, put the links in, and that was it, right? Maybe the time-consuming part of this task would be to find the pages. Yeah, that part, yes. But normally we have, our activities, our little exercises here and there. So putting together the choice board is not that much time-consuming. Here, there is another one. This is an academic writing choice board for practice. So in here, I gave my students different opportunities to practice with or without connectivity. I mean, like, there are some that are more technological than others, the tasks. And I even included a teacher, like, do you have a doubt? Go to Microsoft Teams and talk to your teacher about your doubts and questions, right? So like students could choose which of these they would do. They had to choose 3. And something important when you're designing choice boards is that you have to think about the level of difficulty. All the tasks have to have a very similar level of difficulty. Otherwise, the students are going to choose the easy option, right? Like, I'm going to just do the easy one. So they have to choose. I mean, you have to think of the tasks so that they are as challenging so that students don't pick an easy one. Another way to do a choice board is by considering the principles of UDL, right? That's why we connect these two. UDL has 3 main principles. One is you have to provide varied means of representation. So how are students going to represent their learning? Through a writing, through a video, through a song, through a recording. Also, different or varied means of expression. An action. So are they going to do something? Are they going to write something? So what kinds of intelligences are going to be mixed? And also different means of engagement. So how are you going to engage students? Through a video, through a song, through a reading. Yeah. So if you think about this, you offer different options for all the students. The vocal ones, the shy ones, the lazy ones, everyone gets involved. And this one is another one that I love, that is the Showcase Your Pronunciation Improvement Choice Board. So in here, students needed to choose a way to show me their improvement in pronunciation. So they could, for example, as you can see in the options, maybe they're too little, I will read them for you. Choose a poem and declaim it, rap a song, choose a TV or movie series and act it out, do a monologue, give a speech, tell us a new story like Manuel Teodoro would, imitate an accent, sing a song, make a music video, and narrate a goal in a soccer match. As you can see, these options are super oriented to my students' interests in this case. So if you ask, your options might change because they might want something different. So giving your child choices and allowing them to make their own decision can be invaluable to their growth. It is important to give students choices. We cannot complain that they are not autonomous if we don't give them the opportunity to choose, right? So remember, we have been tested in our flexibility, and we have two roads to choose. We can settle for the first road where we say the pandemic was a terrible situation in our lives and we just want to move back to whatever we were, or we can choose to learn. We can choose to grow, and we can choose to see, all the benefits and all the amazingness that we took out from this horrible, difficult, challenging experience that we lived in. Well, I don't think we have time for questions, but thank you so much, teachers, for your attention, your attendance, your participation. It was wonderful to share these 2 hours with you. Thank you so much. And well, I hope that you got out something interesting from this webinar.
Thank you, Carolina. Thank you so much for your time. I think what we have learned so far from you is that, of course, that we have to go the extra mile with our classes. We have, of course, challenges, scarcity, as you mentioned before, but of course, we need to guide our students. We need to give them options, possibilities to learn, and of course, that they can see English as the way to express different topics, for example, emotions, or contextualize the language in meaningful topics that they feel motivated to learn and participating in our classes in these hybrid environments. So thank you, Caro, for your time. Teachers are saying thank you.
Yeah, thank
to
you for the comments. You're very
Yeah.
generous with all those comments, teachers. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Yes, and we are going to share material that you shared today.
Yes.
Do not
Mhm.
worry, we will share the links, the examples from the choice boards, and of course you will get also you will have access to this video again, so you can watch the video again. So thank you, Carolina, and thank you all teachers for being with us, and I hope that you have a wonderful Saturday.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. You too. Bye-bye.